Yes, everybody, welcome back. My name is Stephen Howson. This is Stretford Paddock, and this is the news. Apparently, I'm supposed to do the weather. Sunny but a bit chilly. Does that work? Right then, first things that we're going to be talking about then is Meccano / Boateng. So Jerome Boateng's not going to have his contract renewed at Bayern Munich. The reason for that, well, I'm going to tell you, is because Bayern Munich are going to be targeting Dayot Meccano. Now, everybody knows Dayot Meccano signed a new deal at RB Leipzig. That deal included a £36.5 million release clause, which I think United were amongst a few of the teams that were potentially eyeing up Meccano, have gone, that is like a free transfer for a player with the potential that he's got. Now, ignore the performance that we saw from him at Old Trafford a couple of weeks ago. That's not how you're going to judge a single player. It wasn't a great performance, but what he's done in his career up to now and how he's performing elsewhere tells you that this is a top-class player, and for 36 million, there is absolutely no risk. My issue is now, when Bayern Munich enter the fold for a player, and when it's a player that's playing in Germany, they usually get that player. That's my worry. And £36 million is the kind of price that Bayern Munich like to pay. They get unbelievable deals on players because I think they're like ninja black belt level at tapping up. Obviously not accusing them of anything illegal, but let's be honest, that's what they do. How they got Lewandowski for free baffles me. So I do think that Bayern Munich entering the fray is a worry for United, and if United are sensible, they should probably start to switch targets. Maybe they should switch their targets to Jerome Boateng. Now, I know he's had a few injury issues, and that's partially one of the reasons why Bayern Munich want to get rid of him. But Jerome Boateng is a winner, a serial winner, and a serial winner with a serious amount of experience. And I know, before you even start typing, I know you're about to type Schweinsteiger. I don't think it's quite the same as Schweinsteiger. I don't think he's quite as over the hill as Schweinsteiger was. And I think he could still do a decent job as third-choice centre-half. Probably even first-choice centre-half when fit, but certainly as third-choice centre-half when it comes to the full pecking order and how fit he's going to be. So that's what I reckon is going down. I think Dayot Meccano's probably going to end up a Bayern Munich player. He's going to end up there for essentially nothing in today's market. And I think United need to switch their attention to another centre-half. I don't think we can be sitting here all the way through to next summer waiting on this to come through when it clearly isn't going to come through if Bayern Munich are going for him and he's a player that's playing in the German league. It just doesn't happen. There's no point going toe-to-toe with Bayern Munich for a player, especially when they can promise him trophies and we can promise him... we can promise him one of the most toxic fan bases in the world, can't we? Next up in Glazer news, the Glazers are getting a bit of abuse again on the old social media, and it's warranted. I was going to say for a change, but it's usually always warranted, isn't it? So, Glazers are getting a little bit of a stick on social media. Someone leaked United's financial reports, and in those financial reports, it said that the Glazers are paying themselves an £11 million dividend. Now, that means that they're literally taking another £11 million out of the club. The reason for why they're getting so much abuse for taking £11 million out of the club is partially because United's performance in the transfer market in the summer left a lot to be desired, but also because Manchester United, about a week ago, with Manchester City, was urged to pay a lot of their staff the national living wage. Now, the national living wage is a little bit higher than the national minimum wage, and a lot of the casual matchday staff that you have at Old Trafford are just on minimum wage, and it's actually 58p more that they would have to pay. Now, I get some businesses, they can pay minimum wage and that's that. But when you're the sort of business that boasts of, even how much we paid Alexis Sanchez alone. We've criticised Arsenal for sacking a load of staff just so they could pay Willian a crazy sum. We've criticised Liverpool for trying to furlough all of their staff and then put on a £1 million fireworks show. And I think it's absolutely right that Manchester United get criticised for taking an £11 million dividend but aren't paying their staff. And I don't know what the situation with a lot of the staff at Old Trafford is. Like, one of the lads that works for Paddock is also a casual worker at United, and they were paying him for all of the games that he was missing up until the end of the season. But I don't know if that's the case for this season. I will ask him and find out. So United have done a lot of good since the start of the pandemic, but they're also making some decisions now which make you go, what's going on here, lads? A lot of the support for the NHS, a lot of the stuff that they did for Fair Share, supporting Marcus Rashford's campaign there, was fantastic, and it was good to see. and United put a lot of the workers that couldn't work on match day, they carried on paying them and they put them to work helping deliver stuff for fair share, which I thought was a fantastic use of United's resource. But this seems a bit... I mean, none of us like the Glazers anyway. For them to be taking cash out under the circumstances, and here's a weird one for you. This season, United have earned 1.7 million from match day. From in there. That we're not allowed to go to. No, I don't know what that's from either. But that's crazy, isn't it? Now, they've said it's from memberships and some other things, but £1.7 million is not an insignificant amount of cash when no one's allowed in. So that's a mad one. And finally, then, international Reds. So some good news for those of us that don't really care about international football. The best bit of news is Marcus Rashford is not going to be joining up with the England squad. He wasn't part of the game against Ireland yesterday, and he won't be part of the squad because England play on Wednesday. Normally when there's international stuff like this, sometimes they'll play on the Friday, like today. Sometimes they'll obviously play on the Saturday and the Sunday. It's usually a big day for them. Very rarely did you see a game that would sort of bleed over to like a Monday. They do that sometimes if they wanted to get a Thursday and a Monday in, or a Friday and a Monday, maybe the occasional Tuesday, but they're playing on Wednesday next week, which doesn't leave a lot of prep time for those that are returning to come back and try and get into shape and into everything and the rhythm that they need to for playing Premier League fixtures. Now, I've got a question. Why is international football even taking place during a global pandemic? It's absolutely ridiculous. When we think of all of the things that we're not allowed to do, going to the stadium for one thing, only essential travel being another. It feels like, to me, I mean, with everything that's going on, the stresses that are placed on the athletes when it comes to travel, when it comes to staying in different hotels, probably doing all of that while wearing masks and all the rest of it. It feels to me like international football in a global pandemic is irresponsible at the highest possible level. You're asking players from across the globe to travel, and they don't travel private. Most of the players that are travelling on international duty are travelling on chartered flights with members of the public, people going for business, because obviously leisure isn't allowed at the moment. So the people that are travelling for work, mostly. But you've got all the players catching chartered flights, mixing with the general public, coming together in one spot with all the rest of the people that have travelled from wherever. They're training and playing together for a day, 2-3 days, and then they're getting back on public transport and flying back to wherever they've been with their parent club. We saw Cristiano Ronaldo contract coronavirus. There's been there's a never-ending cycle of players catching it under these circumstances. It just feels to me highly irresponsible. I wouldn't mind so much if they said, right, what we're going to do is a bit like what we did with Europe last year. We'll play all the domestic fixtures, and then we're going to have like an international close season. So the players that aren't involved in internationals, they can have a bit of a break and actually relax and all the rest of it. Those that are involved in internationals and those that want to be involved in internationals, those guys can go to a training camp somewhere and make that long... Let's say it's Alex Telles flying to Brazil. Rather than having to go last month and then this month, why don't he just goes once and he stays in Brazil, and maybe there's a centralised thing for whatever competition, whether it's... I mean, friendlies. Why the fuck are friendlies taking place? If it was competition, it's one thing, but friendlies... So go and play all your games that you've got to play in one area, and at least you'll minimise the amount of travel that people have got to do. For every game, there's travel that needs to happen. But if you could make 3 or 4 games in one location, that minimises the risk to everybody involved, doesn't it? I just think it's ridiculous. And I can't... And people say, well, it's the money. Well, what money? What's the difference in cash that you're going to get by playing all of these internationals in one go? Because you could sell that, I'm sure, and probably sell it as a bigger event than a single friendly on a Wednesday night. And let all the Premier League teams do what they've got to do and minimise the risk of spreading this virus all over the place. So on that news, good news is Marcus Rashford ain't going anywhere. You've also had Victor Lindelof pull out of the Swedish team because of the enhanced restrictions around travel to and from Denmark and quarantine that has to happen either side of that. You've also got Scott McTominay. Congratulations on getting Scotland through to Euro 2021. As someone tweeted last night on our account, but it's actually still called, officially, even though it's next summer, Euro 2020. So look out for that, because that's going to be a future quiz question in years to come. In what year did Euro 2020 happen? 2021. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. I've been Stephen Howson. This has been the news. Tomorrow I'm going to be back outside Old Trafford, probably wearing similar clothes, doing a transfer review. So make sure to tune that one in and make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.